Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'd like to talk to you about the symbol sync indicator. You can get it for both MT4 and MT5 for free right here on the MQL5 website. I'll share all the links in the description box below. So this indicator, it's mostly just a symbol changer where you can set these symbols as comma separated values, or you can also get them from the market watch. And these you can set the time frames also as comma separated values. Now the next thing that it can do is it will show you these box highlights based on either profit or loss, or you can also set it to be based on the buy or sell open trades that you have, and it can also show you the pending orders. So active buy trade, you can set it to green, sell you can set it to red, and pending order you can set it to any color that you like. Otherwise it will take the default light green and light red. And you can also set the panel background to light up. Suppose if your overall ongoing trades, if those are in a loss, then you can set it to go red. And if your overall ongoing trades, those are in profit, you can set it to green. And in settings, if you mention a template TPL file, then it will show you this T button. And when you press it, it will reapply that template. And you can also set it to sync the templates with other charts. I'll show you all of these in the main screen, but just go over this post if you have any doubts, and it will explain all the detailed settings and everything that's possible and the different kinds of layouts that you can set it in, or you can set it on your main chart or send it to a sub window. So yeah, let's go to the MT4. Now you can move this panel around, and right now I have set it to market watch, but by default it will be set to a manual pair list where it will show you just these 14 forex pairs. Sorry, it will show you these 7 forex pairs. And you can keep adding even more pairs after this. And you can set how many pairs you want in a row and how many time frames you want in each row. And this prefix, this is very important in case if you want to sync this with other charts. Now, if you move this panel around and if you want to sync its position with the other charts, you can set this to true. So let me show you. I'll just open up another chart and let me place the indicator. So by default, all of those syncs, those will be false. So let me just set it to sync panel position, and everything else is false. And both of those, they are sharing this default prefix. So if let me tile these windows. Now, whenever I move this around, it will move this around. So this will be especially helpful when you are using multiple charts and you want different time frames and different pairs, but you want to sync the position of it. And you can also minimize it just by pressing this, and that will minimize it on all the other charts as well. Now, if I also sync this time frame and symbols per row, if I sync that, and let me change something, like I just want 5. I want to sync just the layout. And I've pressed it, then it will change that in the other. And if I set that back to like 10, then it will change in both. Next, I can also sync the traded pair or the time frame. Now, sometimes you might be using different pairs, but you want to change the time frames, but you want the pairs to stay in sync. Like if I change to euro dollar, I want it to change over here, but I don't want the time frames to change. Then you can just set the pairs to sync. And finally, you can also set the time frames to sync. In that case, it will change both. And if you set this sync templates, then whichever chart has this T button and a template added to it, when you press that T, it will also open up the template in the new chart. Because this one doesn't have any template mentioned, you won't get that T button. And right here, I have template t1.tpl. So whenever you can just mention t1 or you can mention the .tpl, either way it will find that file. And if you are using a template, then I would suggest to save the template with this indicator on, because if you save it without that, then the moment the template loads, you will lose this indicator. So yes, now I should have placed something on this chart. Let me try MACD and save the template once again. And now if I press the T button, you get the MACD template right here. I think that's most of the features. Everything else is just where you can set the position. You can by default set the show or hide button. Like if you don't want this and if you want the panel to stay consistent, set that to false. If you want to move the panel to a sub window, then set that. Once you move it to a sub window, in that case it will still try to sync them, but it won't be able to get the exact position because you'll need to set this one to be in its sub window also. I didn't add the sync of sub windows because sometimes you'll have multiple windows and they might not have this. So you can set whatever layout you like in a template file, and then when you apply a template, in that case it will move this to the sub window or wherever you have placed it. And now when I press the T, then I will get the exact same thing. And we already talked about the pair buttons. Like if you only want the time frames, you can hide the pairs, then you get just the time frames. If you only want the pairs, but you don't want the time frames, so you can also have that. But just be sure to once again save that as a template and then apply it to the other charts. The sync, it will only happen for whatever exists right here. You will still get the sync, like if I have weekly over here and if I change it to M15, I get M15, I get M5 right here. But my point is that you won't get the time frames in this panel. Okay, and we already talked about the comma separated list and the comma separated list right here. And these are the time frames per row, pairs per row. If I just set it to 1 and if I set the pairs per row to maybe like 2 or 1, either way, if I set the panel window to 0 and I set the layout to column based, then it will give me this kind of look. Sometimes you might want the panel to be a lot more compact, then you can set that. And you can set whatever background color, like normal color will be this. If button is active, the text on the color of the text and the color of border where it's normal, and trade color mode. Like if you have profit loss based, then if you let me just set it to profit loss based and let me open up a few trades. Like let me do a buy over here and I'll change the chart so you can see this clearly. You can either set the border. Right now we have just opened it, so we are in a loss currently, and you can also change it to bull bear type. So we placed a buy trade, which is why this will turn green. And if you prefer, instead of just the border, if you want the whole button to be that color, then you can set that. So suppose if I select this, then it will still consider that as the preference color, and your active color, it will only be there if a trade isn't open for that one. And everything else, like if you have a pending buy sell order and profit loss colors, so if I go back over here and I put it to profit loss based, then profit is this lime and loss is this orange red. So right now we went into profit, I think, and if it goes away, it means it entered that 0. So let's just see. Right here we are at 0, so the color will go away. It's neither profit nor loss, and the moment it enters loss, that color changes. And also one thing that you'll notice, refresh after ticks. So whatever this sync is happening, it happens every 10 ticks. And if you feel like you want it to be immediate, then you can set this to 1, or 2 or something lower. And let me also put the sub window 0 over here. Okay, so now the sync is immediate, and if I change this to maybe 1, and I'll also need to change the refresh after ticks right here to 1. So wherever I click OK, that panel becomes the primary panel. So now the refresh is much more immediate. If you have way too many charts and if you don't want it to sync every single tick, then you can set this, you can change this. But be sure if you are using this sync, be sure to use a unique prefix over here. Because if I use like ABRSC, this prefix in other charts, then those will also get synced as long as you have true over here. And this column based and row based, this actually is just for whether this M1, these time frames are above or below each other. So if I go row based, it will be like this, where all the time frames and then all the pairs come in. And if I go back to column based, then it will be like this, left and right. So I think the preference would be just set it back to 10 and set it back to row based. I think this will be the most preferred one. So prefix will be really important for this sync to work. And finally, we already talked about this change panel background by total profit. So if you have multiple trades over here and that's overall loss, right now I just have one. So let me change the, okay, let me just open up something, buy or sell randomly. And the overall thing is in loss. You will get the red color. If all your trades combined, they enter profit, in that case you will get a green color. And right here, this is profit or loss based, which is why you are getting red for both. And if you change it back to buy or sell based, then you'll get red and green. So not all the settings sync with each other. I've kept the most important ones to sync, and everything else you can use the template file for that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And you can get this utility and let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you like using it, I would be very happy if you left a review right here or the MT4. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I really hope you enjoy using it. Thanks guys.